Cool. How many people want to shop? Some. How many people don't want to ever own that? Okay.
So we don't have a layout, but we were going to run. Yeah. Hello, Michael. Yeah. Yeah, that's good. Is that going?
It's when you hold it like not right up to it, you know.
This mic doesn't work like that. Does that work?
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
Never.
Okay.
No, just kidding.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, a little share.
We could.
Thank you.
We could do that. We both tested.
It might be like or like sounding off of each other. I think.
Hello. Can you hear it in the mic? Or am I too far away?
Sounds good. You back again.
Nick? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So So are y'all do y'all have any questions? We're trying to figure out which way to go with this. We were gonna go with like how to start off a tattoo shop, right?
That's kind of my panel. That's my seminar essentially.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
a good preview to yours,
Uh-huh.
like a little bit of taste. But also a lot of people already have tattoo shops. So
Totally.
we can also answer any questions
That might be good.
too.
Yeah. Shop owner questions.
Will you start off by telling us about your tattoo shop?
Yes. Okay. My shop is Diving Swallow Tattoo. It's in Oakland, California. I have a couple artists from there. Yay. Mia, Wes, Jazz. All right. Yeah, we've been around since 2005, and I'm going to go into great detail soon about all of it. But we are a female, trans, non-binary shop. Predominantly. We have a couple cis men that guest here or there, but
How many people work there?
kind of depends on what guests are coming in. So 9, sometimes 6 if someone's like on a vacation for 3 months. Yeah. How about you?
I own Castro Tattoo. It's been around for like 26 years or 25 years. I've owned it for 5 years and worked there for 9 years. But I definitely went through like weird transitions of like how to be a boss or a shop owner, where you're like, oh no, yeah, it was just chill. I'm everybody's friend. And then it's like, some people will be like, oh, we just do whatever we want then. And you're like, yes, but only if you're responsible. And then that gets confusing because some people just aren't responsible. And they're like, wait, no, but you can't do that. And they're like, I thought you were my friend, you know? So there's like there's weird power dynamics, right? Whenever you first take over a shop and you're like, okay, where's like the happy medium to where like, I have a shop that is clean, smooth running. Everybody has everything they need. And everybody is responsible and can look after themselves, right? What do you think's the most important part in like being a boss? I don't know. I don't like to say it, but I don't like to say that word.
Oh no, that's a good question. I think having good boundaries and treating people with kindness, you know, I mean, there definitely is a difference being a boss versus not being a boss, because everyone can leave and you're still responsible for that place, basically. You know, yeah, I think that would be the most important thing for sure. What about you?
What was the question? The most important thing about like the power dynamic and stuff? What I hear from other people about like their shop owners. You ever hear that story of like when somebody quits and then the owner loses their shit and they want revenge on people? I always hear that one. That's one that I've always been like, all right, if somebody has to go, like you should like gracefully be like, oh man, yeah, we all have different paths in life. Like, I love you. Good luck. You know, no matter who they are, how weird they left or whatever. You just like always like, if someone tells you that they're leaving, like they're moving out of state, you just got to be like, be sweet to them. I don't know. I hear a lot of like that kind of drama. That's scary to me.
So much.
I'm
of that
like,
drama.
people aren't supposed to be with you for the rest of their lives.
I know.
You know?
Yeah, we believe in that strongly. You don't own people, but there are a lot of shops that feel like they own you. So,
And then they're so offended.
well,
They're
yeah.
like, how dare you even think about going somewhere else? Or they charge too much. What's your dynamic with I don't know, like how you charge artists?
Percentage versus rent.
Yeah, percentage, rent, whatever.
Yeah, we charge rent and we've done that from the get-go. And again, I'll go through this a lot soon, but yeah, I left a percentage shop. I had a really hard time with percentage. I felt like all the people that I worked with at that shop were trying to lie like all the time to the owner. And
Yeah.
then the owner gets really controlling and micromanaging.
Paranoid.
It's just an awful dynamic. Plus the first shop I ever worked at took 50% of my money. And I was like, I'm never gonna make any money. I'll never live in the Bay Area. So that's why that's one of the main reasons why we opened up Diving Swallow. There are other ones, but that
The
was
flat
one.
rent, do you weekly rent or monthly rent?
We do a monthly and we do it like there's a guest artist rate and then there's 1 day a week, 2 days a week, 3 days a week, 4
That's
days a week.
nice. You can
stuff
like break
that.
it down like that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
What do you guys do?
So we have kind of a combination, and it's to help people out in a way. I'll tell you about it and then y'all can judge it. So I want everyone on rent for sure. So like all of our artists almost are on rent. But say if you're a new artist, you don't really have your clientele together yet, right? It's really hard to say, yeah, I can commit to paying you that every month for sure, you know? So what I do for newer artists, like that we hire, who don't have like the clientele, or they're from out of town, or who knows, they just don't have a clientele yet, is we do percentage, and then once their clientele is built up, they can move to rent, and it's up to them. They can say, I want to be on rent, and I go, cool, because I prefer that, because you don't have to like, how much money did you make?
Yeah.
So they definitely have the option, but having that little bit of leeway seems to help people out. Like it's less scary. They're like, sure, I'll give you just a percentage and I don't have to worry about like coming up with this money every month. But ideally rent, like, because exactly, you don't have to keep track of as much, and everyone feels like independent, like they have their own space, they're in control of their own business, you know?
Also easier to budget just as a shop owner.
Yes, you're like, I know I'm gonna get this money. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have any questions about any of that? Yeah.
So I was gonna ask you, when you do have a new artist, do you feel like it's partly your responsibility to market them and promote them so that you get more clientele, or is that kind of just something that they have to take care of on their own?
You wanna take that?
Well, I think like at Castro, if someone gets hired at our shop, we already have a really big following. So they're able to, with like a little bit of effort, like drawing, flasher, posting, their clientele will be built up pretty quickly, unless it's like slow season, but I can tell people how they can market themselves through our Instagram and through our website. We have a lot of walk-in traffic in the area. So I'll give them the tools to market themselves, and that's up to them, but I'm not upset if the money is shorter, because I'm like mostly focused on my resident artist, and like that's covered. And then I have a junior artist who is my apprentice, doing percentage. And I'm like, all right, here's the tools to market yourself. If you don't do that, that's on you, but it's all there,
Yeah, we're similar, pretty similar to you. We have an Instagram with a big following, and I think the hustling in the beginning is a part of being in the industry and learning what you want to tell people about, like what kind of work you want to do and how you want to promote yourself, because everyone's really different. And so I think people having internet presence is very important. And then once that occurs, you can slide in easily. You can tag the shop and everything is just very seamless now. I mean, back when we started, that was not a thing. People were
Instagram in general.
just
or-
any of that.
Yeah.
It's like you walked into a shop and we all had these makeshift books with photos in it, and you just hope people walked in to look at them. There wasn't a way to like scroll on Instagram for your favorite people and then fly to Minneapolis or whatever. That just wasn't really a thing. It was really word of mouth. So, yeah, I feel like nowadays just having people be able to do the Instagram, it's just so much easier. But whereas before I felt like marketing was more important for the shop owner to be helping with. But there wasn't that many ways to shout about it back then.
Yeah, we used to flyer cars and stuff like that. It's like-
Yeah, there
but
was
it would be
like-
like as a shop, not
Yeah.
at my shop, it's in Arizona, but
Yeah. We have taken out, we took out like advertisements in magazines. We tried getting articles with places like with newspapers or whatever, back when people held things to turn. I feel like such a dinosaur when I talk about it.
really answer that. I guess like if you have a tattoo shop, you should be making sure it does get the right amount of attention. Like both of our shops are now pretty established and like people will write about us and like post other things about us. And like we do have that following. But if we didn't have that, then I think we would be really on the grind to like, hey, like this is a good shop. Hey, pay attention.
Yeah.
So I think it is a shop owner's responsibility to have a great presence, a great reputation. But for you to individually market people, I think tattooing, we all have like a hustle, an individual hustle that we have to be responsible for. And I think at both of our shops, our artists have like so much independence. We're like, keep the place clean and like structured and like you always know what to expect. Everything's going to be paid. You got it, But that hustle is on you too,
Good question. Anyone else have a question about any of that? Or any shop owners want to jump in? Oh, yeah.
I'm not an owner. And I've only worked in the industry for 2 years. The reason I'm here really is that I want to better understand what goes into running a shop. I really respect my shop owner and I want to better understand how to be a better artist for them and the gay shop owner. And other than just paying rent on time, what other things do you wish your artists understood about what it takes to be a good shop owner or run a good shop that I could do?
The owner's Millie up at Underground.
Mhm.
So great.
Yeah.
Awesome.
She worked at our shop for 2 years while she opened up her shop. She's good.
That's such a good question, don't you think?
Yeah.
Literally, no one has ever asked me that in my
Yeah.
whole career.
How can
Thank
we be
you.
better for you? We're like,
Wow.
we start crying.
That's
What?
so nice.
No. I know the
Yeah,
answer.
go ahead, you answer that.
What you can do for your shop, for the shop owner, I don't know. I think you can definitely just be really responsible for your own business and clean up after yourself.
Mhm.
Don't leave paper on the counters.
Corners of all the things. all the
Yeah,
tiny things.
because the shop owner, I pretend my shop is like a little garden, right? At the end of the night, I like throw away the trash. I like pick up little things. I like organize pins. I do the weirdest shit. And like that's kind of peaceful. But then sometimes whenever it's like an unbroken down stack of boxes by someone's station, it's like everybody's client sees that, not just yours, I mean, we have separate rooms, but you still have to walk through the rooms, you know? So if your room or your station looks terrible, we all look terrible.
Mhm.
So I think that's more of like a team effort thing. But you know, pay your rent on time, be clean. Don't do any weird bloodborne pathogen stuff. That'd be cool. Get your bloodborne pathogens on time.
Uh-huh.
Me checking the dates. Everybody who works for me is great and like doesn't do terrible things at all. They're just like perfect and wonderful. But I've been through the really bad people. But knowing when your stuff is expiring, so I don't have to like go through everything all the time to make sure nobody's stuff is expired is great.
Yeah, I would say, I feel like I'm gonna come back to this I'm gonna say something.
Yeah, sure, that's fine. Come back to me.
Okay, I will want to circle back on this. Maybe I'll talk about it at my seminar, but I think remembering that the owner is just a person who has all kinds of other things going on, and kindness, like a reciprocal kindness is really helpful. And I think it's actually important that the artist has expectations of the owners. Because again, the shop that I used to work at, which is what made me want to open up Diving Swallow, kind of tried to run it like a collective where everyone pitched in the same and cleaned in the same way and put in all these extra hours, but was making a ton of money, and it just didn't really feel fair. And so, yeah, I'm gonna circle back.
Shop owners can hire cleaners.
Yeah, yes, having a cleaner is really important, yeah.
And if you're like, oh, I'm a shop owner and I can't afford a cleaner, well, that is actually a good reason to like raise the rent a little bit. Like, and you can tell people why, you can show them the budget. And most people are going to be like, yeah, that would be great. What was the other question that Bex asked was, what goes into running a tattoo
Oh,
shop?
yeah.
'Cause
Well,
I know
I mean,
a lot of people.
I'm gonna go so deep into that in my seminar.
That's a heavy
But so
question.
many things, like literally so many things.
What you want to know the secrets? Go to Cedar Seminar.
What doesn't go into running a shop is,
It's
is a good
like
question.
everything.
yeah,
What did any shop owners have any questions? Yeah, what was it?
or things like that.
Do you make money off of your artists
Mm-hmm.
and, or do you keep that money in the business?
Mm-hmm.
And if you do take money out of the business for yourself that you're not making from your clients, how do you decide how much? How do you pay yourself?
Such a good question.
Yeah, I like this one.
Well, for me, that has really changed over the years since it's been so long. We have made money off of our artists in the past, but never a ton, because I think it's because we don't take percentage, honestly. Rent, you have to structure it pretty high to make a lot of money. The pandemic really changed all of that, which I'll talk about more. But I feel really strongly personally, and I think my business partner can attest to this, that saving is really important for things like the pandemic. We had like about 6 months of savings pre-pandemic, and that has completely diminished. But again, it's just owning a shop. You have to just roll with being in debt, being freaked out, or whatever. You're just kind of rolling with it. So currently, no, we don't. But I would say for, a couple years, we made a little bit of money, like maybe $500 extra total. Like
But
really,
do you pay your booth rent?
but we don't pay our booth rent.
Yeah.
So you really have to account for that.
As owners. you
As
pay-
owners, I used to maybe for the first 10 years. And then, so that is the greatest benefit for me. So that is making money.
I agree. I do the whole like I'm really obsessed with saving thing, which saved us during the pandemic. In my head there should be at the least $20,000 in your bank account as a shop owner for anything that comes up, because anything could happen, and it did. The way I don't pay myself from the shop, but I don't pay my booth rent. I don't pay booth rent, which is like being paid, obviously. So I feel like that is my salary. And also the shop pays my health insurance, which, because that was a huge goal, for many years, I didn't have health insurance for, I think, the first 9 years of my career. And I always said if I owned a tattoo shop, I would get health insurance.
Mhm.
So that is one, which is like, my health insurance is like $160 a month, but still that means a lot to me. Like that was like one of the goals for owning a shop, was like, well, if you do it, you can have health insurance. Yeah, I don't know. So booth rent and health insurance is the main thing. But being a shop owner isn't a huge like money making endeavor. What you're doing it for is this freedom. Like nobody is going to be like, you should really do things this way with your business. And by having that freedom, you can give other people that freedom, and you can try to create the environment that you always wanted. Some shop owners do try to get rich off of it, but I agree that's a percentage game. And I mean, I make good money tattooing nowadays, so I don't need
Mhm.
to do that stuff. But
But I will just say that, like, I'm not opposed to that. As someone who's like aging in the industry, you don't have a whole lot to go on. So eventually my body will break down. I'm gonna get arthritis. Like, I'm not gonna be able to tattoo. Probably I'll tattoo for another 15 years, like hopefully. But I don't think it's bad to make money off your artists if you're not a collective. I mean, I think you have the freedom to do that if you're allowing your artists the ability to survive where they are. I think that it's okay. But if you're making so much money off them and they're all so poor, I just don't think it's okay. But again, I can get into that more, but yeah. Yeah.
Kobe.
We run our percentage rates.
Mhm.
And I mean, we are not at all getting rich off of our.
Oh, that's true. Like if you don't have I don't know if they're not like booked out for days or something, you know?
No doubt.
Yeah.
You don't like schedule their time.
Mhm.
They can work as much as they want.
Um,
as they want.
Mhm.
Like, my question is like, running it, and we talked about going to like rental spaces. And I think, we may have a few rental spaces and mostly percentage based, but like, how much, you have to like account for like, if, you're talking about having this pocket of like $20,000, like, where does that come from?
Mhm.
Like, if you're only making like a certain, everybody's paying their rent and it's just like covering means, then like, that $20,000 has to come somewhere.
Mhm.
If you need a new couch, if you need like.
Exactly.
Like people to come take care of our plants and clean the shop. And
Mhm.
all of, supplies, and like that percentage, like, there's like no way you'd be able to survive. Like, charging rent, because the rent would have to be so low, like there's like other places in town that charge rent, right? But it's just like.
I think you need to profit. You need to make sure that your rent would make you 15 to 20,000 at the end of the year. That's what my shop profits at the end of the year. And we do stuff like go on trips. We threw a big party and rented out a whole trailer park because we had extra money. But next is remodel the kitchen, because our kitchen is just run down and horrible. So like, you make sure you have that pocket, you make sure you're making 15 to 20,000 at the end of the year, your business, and then that money can go back into your business. And if you have some left over, you can do whatever you want with it. But it's the fact that you're keeping everyone safe. So I think you'd have to work it out to where like, how could you make some money off of rent that goes back into the shop? Because we're not saying that our rent artists just split all the bills evenly. That would be really bad. I don't think people would have the security that they do. I mean, clearly they wouldn't. So you definitely need to make sure your shop profits. But as far as paying ourselves, we're saying that we don't or pay ourselves individually out, like as like owners and managers, you know?
I mean, it's a good point. You know, I would love to hear more about your shop structure. Again, the pandemic has shifted everything. And right now, I think for our shop, we were made to pay rent for 2 years. And even though we had no artists working, so it was like, savings was like, goodbye. And so you just rebuild. And it's made me really think about, you know, why people become owners, what's important to you, how important it is to have, you know, a safe space for people. I really respect the artists in my shop, and I keep doing it because I think it's important, and Diving Swallow feels important. But it's a good question.
Did those answer your questions, or what do you think,
Who asked that?
Toby?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I would love to talk more.
Mm-hmm.
I totally like that. And see, because we would, you know, when pandemic hit for us, like, there's like such a different dynamic, I think, when it's like rental space and, you know, like, we run our shop like Hive Mind. It's not like collective, but you know, we take everybody's input and we have shop meetings and we do things based on like how we all, you know, the direction we feel it needs to go. But you know, like the struggle we have like with booth rental is like then people like have a different ownership. They're like, I pay rent, so I now have like a different say in how the shop runs. And there's, I mean, for us, like it would like almost create too much conflict, you know.
So wait, so you're
That's
saying you've
fine.
done that before? You did that before, or you're worried about that?
No, yeah, like, you know, we have some people paying percentage and some people paying rent. You know, it's like the people paying rent, they're like, oh, my rent paid up.
It feels like a hierarchy. I've actually ran into that, like where the it wasn't the rent artists who felt like they were like better than everyone, but I noticed the percentage artists would get like jealous in a way of the rent artists because they already built up their clientele. They don't have to take walk-ins. They get to come and go as they please, do whatever they want. One of the things for the percentage artists, I'm like, you need a set schedule just because I need to tell people when you're going to be here if you're going to be taking all the walk-ins, you know? So there was some animosity of like back in the day of like people being like, why do they think they're better than us? And I'd be like, they don't, you know? But as far as like them taking, like thinking they have more ownership in the shop, I think booth rent doesn't make you own a piece of the shop. It makes you have more, well, I mean, you do actually, but it makes you have more independence and freedom in your shop. Like, because the owner is like, this is what I like about it is the stability. Like, you're right, your rent is paid. I don't care if I don't see you for the next month, you know? But I really like the stability of it, that I can be like, okay, I'm going to make this money, this money, this money. Here's where it's all going to go, you know? Being able to predict it every month is really nice. So in return, they do get more freedom. But if somebody stepped up and was like, well, I own a part of the shop, so here's how it should be run, I'd be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like, I own the shop and I'm trying to make it this kind of place. Is there like anything that you think that we should do differently? I could consider it, you know, but I definitely wouldn't be like, yeah, you own the shop now, because there's so much other things to shop ownership than just like paying rent, like, you know, like just putting a check in there. We do all the stuff all the time, you know. If you want to know what that stuff is, please take Cedars. No.
I think I would also want to plug and say that I think it might be a personality thing. Like, again, we've had so many different artists over the years, and it's always been rent. And we have had conflicts with things like you're talking about. We don't have that currently, and I'm really grateful about it. But again, I think it's personality based. And we certainly can talk more about that. Any other?
Fire
thoughts?
them all.
What-
Just kidding.
A question around that or anything else? Yeah, yeah.
So I kind of been into owning my own space, and I had like get out of a bad situation, and so I had an existing clientele and was kind of just like operating it as a private studio for a couple of years. And now I'm like transitioning, like, having an open shop front with the sign and stuff, and like, so I'm kind of just curious about advice in like moving towards being like an established shop like y'all's. Like,
I'd rather keep the doors locked.
I
Just have the rent be paid and.
You're trying to decide if
Yeah.
you want to keep
have
your
their,
door.
like, I would like to at some point be able to have a couple other artists,
Uh-huh.
but I mean, so like what lies between here and there,
Are you thinking about becoming like more of a walk-in shop, or would you hire people who had their clientele together already?
I would like to do walk-ins because I like doing walk-ins.
That's cool.
I was brought in just pretty much doing most of the appointments, like I did walk-ins at the very beginning and then went to, just because that's what my mentor did. So, yeah,
I'd start off with the, like, how to hire people or how to make it a walk-in shop?
both, I guess, like.
So-
it's, like, right now, I'm, like, I just got a website and I painted a sign, and so like,
Nice.
I'm like in the very like baby steps, early stages of trying to establish my tattoo shop.
Customer appreciation days, right? Like doing the flash days, or like your flash days don't necessarily have to be like so much cheaper or anything like that. But what you want is to let people know that you're there and that you're gonna be nice to them when they walk in. That's a huge thing. It takes a lot of guts to walk into a tattoo shop because 90% of the time the people are mean to you, like on the other side. So if you can get people in the door by advertising walk-in days, like by saying that, be like, this is a walk-in day, that you do walk-ins every day, we know. But if you plan it and put it out there and advertise ahead, people are gonna be, oh man, we should go to walk-in day, or you could be like, every Tuesday, big walk-in day. I never book appointments on Tuesday, then, or Sunday would be better actually, or a Saturday. But if you don't book appointments on the weekends, advertise the crap out of it, like on Instagram. I think that would be really great. What do you think?
Well, we don't do a ton of walk-ins at our place. It's pretty much appointment only, although some of the artists recently have been doing flash days. And I think that's good for people who are building clientele. It takes time to open a shop and have people know you, shouting about it all the time, showing people what kind of things that you can do on the fly, having examples of tattoos, drawings. There's going to be some hustle around it. We don't keep our door unlocked because in the very beginning we had such terrible experience with like guys coming in and jerking off and like pulling down their pants and all kinds of stuff, again, back a long time ago, but it deterred me from having just an open shop where I just didn't feel safe. I think it can be done though, and over the years different people have said like, I really want to have a walk-in day, and so we had like a billboard, like a sandwich board where you like draw a thing and you're like, walk-ins today or something, signs saying it, but patience. It's gonna take time. I mean, I don't know, since we don't have a huge walk-in presence, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that. But different artists have made that hustle happen. And then in terms of the other question was hiring people, right? You had another question about that?
Yeah, like having like sort of where it's like, this is my studio and kind of my little happy place, like moving towards having like, because I would have room for like one or two other artists. It's not big,
Huh?
but like, I think that would be cool. just
Yeah.
for people to have.
Yeah, I mean, I think taking pictures of your place, all the little nooks and crannies that you're proud of, like you've painted it, you've put up little altars or whatever you do for your aesthetic. Really building out the personality of your shop is important. So thinking about what that is, you're like essentially marketing your shop like it's an artist, like it's one of your artists, you know?
Right.
And then other artists will be drawn to you because of what your shop looks like and what you're saying to people, like what you do. Like people will be drawn to your shop because of what you do. Like I do a lot of flowers, so I get a lot of artists that are doing flowers or like learning about that. But maybe, I'm not sure what you specialize in, but maybe there'll be artists that will be drawn to you because of your expertise. But your aesthetic is important. Your environment that you're creating is really important. So,
At our shop, we have a bunch of different styles. But I think that people do like to see that who they're going to be working with has some good work for sure. Our shop went through, before I took it over, it went through a couple change of hands and the reputation was down really low. It started off as a queer shop and then changed hands. And it just went to like street shop for a while and then to bring it back to what it should be because it's in the historical gay district of San Francisco. Was a lot of effort to bring up that reputation again. So hiring really nice people matters a lot. And if you get a weird vibe from somebody, do not hire them. Like have multiple conversations with them. Getting stuck, like you said, it's your happy place, right? Okay, recognizing that you're going to share that space with somebody, you're getting roommates and you're going to be like the main person on the lease. You know what I mean? So you're like signing up to have these roommates, interview them very well. And also be prepared that this isn't just your space anymore. But definitely if you can get everybody in there who's like sweet people, then you're not going to have a problem keeping clients too.
I would also say, and I'm going to go through this more in the seminar, but like establish what you're going to expect from your artists and what
Put
you're
in
going to want from
writing.
them. Like if they're working for you, like the percentage versus rent for sure, but also just what you're expecting from them. So, you know, list of what that is.
That definitely can't change all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, having
Write
it
it
in
out.
writing
Mhm.
and like being able to hand now anytime I do anything, if I'm like rent has to increase at the end of the year because the landlord raised the rent this much. I put it in writing and I'm like, sign it, like you saw it, everybody saw it, okay, every little thing. And then yeah, definitely have in writing what you expect. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, and more, even if it's not in writing, just being really clear and feeling like you're on the same page.
No, they'll ask you to cite it. Had some bad. Some people
Yeah.
be like, well, where is that written? And I'm like, well, I'm gonna write
Agreed.
it down right
Agreed.
now.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
gonna be here there forever. Yeah.
Totally, but sometimes it's written down and people don't read it. So at least
Yeah.
if you're having it written down, just be like eye contact, like let's make sure we're on the same page about it, if it's something that feels important. Anyone else have a question about any of that? Yeah, Nick?
I think in addition to what y'all were saying as far as, finding help, if you're having trouble finding like a reputable tattooer and you're confident in your abilities, you could consider an apprentice as well, like somebody like that, might stick around longer and give you a lot more help. And, yeah.
That's true.
Mhm.
Nick owns Godspeed and San Mateo San Mateo tattoo, San Mateo, California. It's a really cool shop.
Mhm. Yep.
What kind of business entity are you? And did you ever switch from one to a different one? And LLC to this?
Good question. I can answer that. It's very short. We're an LLC, but we got some new tax people about 10 years ago and we are still an LLC, but we're taxed as an S corp.
S Corp.
Yeah. Okay. Can't speak totally to what that really means, except because I don't speak tax. But maybe you can, like, I kind of, but I
There's-
can't give you real good details about that.
Um,
All I know is that we're very protected as an organization, you know,
From
if
what
someone
I-
were to sue us.
Oh, yeah, it's separate from you if you're a
Uh-huh.
corporation.
Yeah.
Because corporations are now people now. I don't know if y'all heard. And then LLC is like more, is it more personal limited liability?
uh-huh.
That's still
It's about being
separated.
sued. I mean, that's why we made our decision
Oh, okay.
around that.
I don't know if was the taxes pay different because for an S corp you pay like $800 and they give you a K1 and then you pay all the money on the K1, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I just listened to my tax person about that. It's like really important to be like, these are my strengths. Mhm.
Oh, Nick knows, maybe.
So, well, no self-employment tax, you end up getting a lot. more.
Yeah.
There, like, if you can set up as an S corp, like my business is an S corp as well,
Uh-huh.
you pay a lot less in taxes, but you do have other costs that are associated. You
Mhm.
probably have to work with professional accountants to do the work.
You
for
do, you can't do it on TurboTax apparently.
Uh-huh.
A lot
Go
of
be.
it has to do with your expenses, what you're buying, what you're paying for. If you're an S corp, you're spending a lot more money on these other things that it makes more sense. You get tax given before.
So if you buy a shitload of toilet paper all the time,
Yeah.
and paper towels, should be an S corp. But my coworker recently made himself an S corp. And is that what you did, Nick? Do you have the shop S corp and yourself as an S corp?
So the shop is set up as an S corp. I'm an employee. of
You're
the
just a
shop.
guy.
I get,
Mhm.
I get, like, a little bit of money out of it.
Mhm.
Cool. That's great. Um,
That pays, and in that, when you get your monthly check, you're also paying your own taxes, like your payments to social security and all these things that you don't get at all as an independent contractor.
Mhm.
yeah. Yeah, I have told everyone if they want to be paid in paychecks, they can be. It's just complicated with the money. It's like, okay, we'd have to run all your money through and then, yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, we have everyone.
But most people want their money immediately. They're like,
Exactly.
no, I'll just pay your rent. No, I've been paid in paychecks before and got ripped off really hard. So I feel like a lot of people have that fear too. I mean, but if you're paying yourself, obviously, very good. But you're not gonna rip yourself off. That'd be weird.
You might.
You might.
Yeah, we have everyone pay their rent and then they handle all their own money. We don't have any of that money run through except rent. And then Wolf and I are on payroll. And so we have all our money go through the business. And then we get paid out by monthly. So that all the taxes are taken out, because honestly, taxes are my
That's
biggest
cool.
nightmare. And so I hate it. It was like every year just dreaded, like, oh, I didn't pay my quarterly or whatever. I tried to take that nightmare out. And so the taxes are just happening. So that's nice.
So that means if you don't want to own a shop or if you do own a shop, either way, you can make yourself an S corp and you could pay yourself paychecks.
Yeah.
That'd be really smart.
Yeah,
And
that's how
then
we do it.
you get all kinds of cool stuff.
The Canadian in the room, what does the S stand for?
No idea.
For the American in the room, I don't know.
Small
That's a Google phone. Small
corporation. Why didn't they
Small.
just say that? Small corp. They're like S corp, it's official. Yeah.
Like LOL.
Yeah.
Cool. What else do y'all want to know from us?
We got a few more minutes.
Yeah,
What do you got? You got 6 minutes, 8 minutes.
yeah.
Math.
Or
is my
any other
strong suit.
owners in the room have anything to add? to any of this?
Yeah.
Like, so curious about your shops.
Any,
Yes.
I have a couple of questions.
Great.
I can start with one for y'all and then maybe one for more of the group.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
My question is mostly, I'm curious about what it was like for you to become the owner of a pre-existing shop. I just don't know how that is structured. and maybe
it's
curious.
scary.
And then my second question is more just interested in connecting with shop owners who are running on a collective model, which is something that we're trying to do at Root Camp. as a small group, but, definitely there's a constant learning about the decision-making process and how we structure things, so if anybody wants to connect about that, I'd
Mhm.
love to.
And for that model, you definitely have to make sure that everybody wants to be in a co-op. A lot of people don't want to own a business. They would like to just pay the rent and show up and everything's done too. So as long as they're all like, oh, hell yeah. Because I've seen shop owners try to change it to that. And everybody goes, wait, no, like I just want to do the thing, you know? So hopefully that's like with your career, everybody's like, yeah, we want to do that, you know, because you're making them all little owners. And like some people do not want to own a shop. They just want to show up and do their business, you know. And
You want to talk to the
taking-
first one?
oh,
Talk to the first one.
man, that
Sure.
was so weird. I worked at a shop for a few years and then the owner didn't want to be the owner anymore. And I was the only like queer person there, but it was in this historical gay district. So whenever she was like, Haley, you want to take over the shop? Here's the price. You got 7 months. If you don't buy it, I'm gonna sell it to this guy. And the other guy, I hated. So I was like, yeah, I can definitely do that. And I think I got it for like $40,000. And I tried to get loans, but I was already working on this scheme to own a tattoo shop. I was like, I'm gonna get my business degree and I'm gonna write a good business plan, and then I'm going to go to a bank, get a business loan, and I'm gonna open my shop. But then this lady's like, I don't want to do this anymore. You got $40,000. And I was like, yes, absolutely. I had like $3,000 at the time. I was like, I can do that. Yeah, definitely. I couldn't get any bank loans because I did not have the business degree and did not have money saved up, and my taxes looked like shit. So I didn't get the loan, but I came up with most of the money, and then pulled in a business partner for the last 15%, and then bought him out the next year. So, I mean, we make decent money tattooing, so it was a good hustle and it was very stressful, but that happened. But then all these people already worked at the shop, you know, and a lot of them I did not like. I was not comfortable working with them. And I, like one of the guys, I went to the owner and was like, he's like making 18-year-old girls take their shirts off for getting a tattoo right here. Like, what are you doing? And she's like, it's a tattoo shop. What do you expect? And I was like, oh my God. I was like, I expect you to do something. It's not like, you know, it's not like early 2000. We don't have to put up with this anymore. Like, do something. And she's like, well, maybe if you own the shop one day, you can like do something about it. So all these people already worked there. A lot of them I despised, like did not like them at all. They were gross and I hated them. So I fired like 3 people. And then kept one person got hired a week before she sold me the shop. I don't know why she did that. That's really weird, but she turned out pretty cool. But then, so with the other guy who was like, the guy who like I inherited, I suppose. It was kind of funny. Like he was like a grumpy ass tattooer and stuff, but I liked him. Like he was never like inappropriate, you know. I'm like, yeah, you can be like sad about your life as long as you like are treating your clients nice or whatever. So there was this really weird turnover of power, and he was like, yeah, whatever, I guess you're the owner now. So there's this one time he came up to me and he's like, Haley, can I go out of town for 2 weeks? And I was like, what, dude, I don't know. And he was like, just answer the question. You're the owner now. You have to tell me if I can go out of town for 2 weeks. And I was like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't care if you go out of town for 2 weeks. It just doesn't seem to affect me. He's like, you have to step up now. And I was like, I mean, now that's definitely not how I run my tattoo shop, and everybody can come and go as they please. But at the time, it was just like, he was like, are you going to be a boss or not? And I was like, I don't know. And I've never imagined that actually being a thing of like telling people when they can have vacation time. I'm like, not for it, still not for it. But it was pretty strange at first because I got pushed a little bit to be the certain type of boss. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to step up and like be this thing. And then it only took like, a few months of getting comfortable being like, wait a minute, this could be my dream tattoo shop. This should be the queer tattoo shop that I've always wanted, have a great space. I can love everybody who works with me. I don't have to deal with anybody I don't want to. And everyone can hopefully have like the type of freedom that they want. And eventually that guy stayed for like 2 years, but I hired a whole new crew of people. He ended up moving to Texas, but I don't know, it was really weird and scary at first. And I'm glad that's over. Did that help? Yeah.
Cool. The shop sounds cool. That sounds hard though. Sounds really hard. Because we wanted a collective in the very beginning. In fact, we kind of started it that way, that idea. Or 4 of us, just like you. And then things changed. People couldn't invest in the same way, and it just didn't work out. But we kept our dream alive for like, I mean, I wanted it for probably 10 years or something. But eventually you spend 10 years and then you're like, I guess I'm the fucking owner, and that's what's happening. But I think it's admirable to want to do that. And there are more and more shops that are smaller and opening up like that. And I think it's really great. And there's lots of little combinations of things. Like, it's not just tattooing, it's like other things. And I think that's neat. So I hope you find community around that, and any advice I can give you, I will, although I don't have direct collective experience that was successful. But in my heart, I think it's really,
10 years is a
Great.
long time though.
it was in my heart that I wanted.
Yeah.
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 Like, we weren't even technically a collective for 2 years. It was like, we were speaking about it like it was like that, but only one person was really financially invested in that way. And so it gets like a lot of detail, but it just never worked out to be what we wanted. And I think when it comes down to money, after some years, it's important part of the job. And so, yeah, I don't know if you'd like to speak about it,
Oh, but you wanted to ask,
or to ask the group.
the group.
or
Does
speak about
anyone
it,
work at a collective currently?
or in the past?
Can ask you to find collective or, because I feel like.
Oh. Everyone knows all of like the bills and the taxes, and they put in that amount to make it, like everyone puts in the same amount and the same amount of cleaning effort and the same amount of looking after the shop and the same amount of when licenses are due and everything like that. I think it takes like an extremely responsible and driven group and to work together like that. I hear about it like sometimes, and it's just like sometimes it's like so uneven, and I'm like, how are y'all not just so mad at each other? But yeah, is that what yours is like?
But there's only, we do have a shop manager who's different from the shop owner.
Okay.
And it's kind of like most of the financial stuff is discussed between them, because we can't ever get it together enough to all be in the same room at once. Most of the time,
Do you all take care of cleaning?
we do our part,
Yeah.
Rent,
Mhm.
just kind of like our shop owners always like treat this like your second home. Like do something nice for the shop. So I feel like that is kind of basic behavior. If you're in a shop, of course, like treat it well, treat it with kindness and stuff.
Mhm.
But I don't know, it's just kind of a weird like mixture right now.
So there's a shop owner and a manager, and then there's,
Right.
what do you all call yourselves?
Um,
Are you just like, you're the artist, but you're also more?
well.
It sounds like the owner
I
might
feel like
pressure him into it.
Been there the longest.
Really
and
good
there's
stuff.
Uh-huh.
people kind of integrated themselves.
Mhm.
There's like several people who, they started it together.
Mhm.
Like, I started with them, so so like I have kind of like more input into things,
Mhm.
you know, but it's all kind of still being figured out. I don't know, it's only been open for about 2 or 3 years.
Mhm.
So we're still figuring out like dynamics and meetings and all that.
Yeah.
Does that help you, or do you have any questions for them or anything?
No, I
Yeah.
don't think so. Yeah, I'm just curious to see if other people have that structure.
Oh, yeah.
Right now legally, Georgia and I are the owners of the shop
Mhm.
and we put money into it, but we're splitting expenses and sharing responsibilities and.
It's
hoping
nice
that
to have
we
a business
can
partner.
Build relationships in a way that people, if they desire to, can have full ownership, if that's a path they want to take.
Mhm.
But yeah, I think the root of what's been working the best for us is allowing people to choose how much responsibility they have for the space and also just building relationships with one another.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, we're trying to be very artist focused, which it sounds like, and it's cool to hear how y'all are doing the same in a different structure.
Mhm.
Because there have been so many very extractive experiences. And yeah, it's a, you know, we do end up bottom lining a lot of things because we have that foundational experience with having been there with the building.
Mhm.
And we are in a similar position maybe as you were at the beginning, Cedar, being like, do you want this?
Please do this with us.
They're like, no, God, kind of show up.
Yeah, I mean, I
Or they'll
think,
be like,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like after some years pass, then it's just like, okay, I'm doing all the things, so that's what's happening.
Yeah.
But good luck with that, and would love to talk to you more about it, you know, when we can be one-on-one or whatever, yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure that I would be excited about talking to anybody who's interested in collectives or co-ops, which I think is an aspiration for us because it is like worker co-ops are a radical transitional structure away from a lot of capitalist forms of business. And also they are really complicated when you're basically freelancers. And they run a model that exists. It's a really cool one in Maryland. But yeah, it's something that in the 3 years we've been running free camp, we've been thinking about a lot, and this moving at the speed of like trust and emergence relationships has proved really important, and it hasn't necessarily finished that yet, but so cool.
Yeah, cool, great, thanks for sharing that.
Cool. And it's scary to work for people though, so it'd be nice. A lot of people have a lot of like trauma about working with people, working
Especially
for
queer
people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
scary. Yeah, there's some brutal.
Mhm.
I hope everyone works with great people. Does any of our coworkers want to roast us after hearing us talk about shop site?
Cool, well, Gabe's giving us the cut it
Yeah.
off moment, so I don't have any idea what time it is, but that was.
It's
really
5
fun.
minutes past.
Yeah, thanks for listening and participating.
Yeah, whoever's staying for Cedars,
Take a break
how much time do they have?
and then come back. What time is it?
10 minutes, 10 minute break?
You know,
Ten.
yeah.
Here.
Yep.
We're just gonna stay here, so go pee, drink water. We got some technical stuff to do.
And whoever is not taking it, get out of this room.
That was actually so fun.
That we went.
That was so good. I felt like really, I was so curious about the audience, less performative and more.
Yeah.
Well,
This is it'd be nice to- That was great. Go ahead, answer these questions. Okay, so. Can't believe it. The speaker. If it's on your phone.
Well, hold on a second. I could also go over there and just, yeah. And then I can just tell you, this, are you gonna be sitting?
Emily.
So, all I need is for someone, there's only like a few.
So that up there. Oh, yeah. Exit everybody, or should I?
Hey, everybody, we're gonna be doing some checks. If you don't mind clearing out the room for a little bit, we'll be ready in just a little bit. Thank you.
Yeah, so ultimately what's gonna happen. So now, oh, you wanna go, yeah? Let's see. So you wanna, now let's go to your system preferences. System preferences, displays.
Yeah.
So yes.
Here.
Yeah, the window. Might have to. Oh,
It was working yesterday.
there
There
you go.
Here's the master.
So arrangement. We don't want to mirror displays. We put it here.
I guess we don't have to remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was,
Okay.
so then we were really awkward in the beginning and then it was